Epic Mickey Rebrushed finally got its release date revealed, and wow, it is so exciting that the game is finally coming in a matter of months. There has been a secret I've been keeping regarding this game that I have been terrified to talk about. But with the game coming out in a matter of weeks, there's going to be a ton to talk about this game, but I can't talk about it until I get this secret off of my chest, and so that is what today's confession is going to be about. Hello rat enthusiasts, my name is RidersDX and welcome to this edition of Riders Talk, where today we're going to talk and chat a little bit about the new Epic Mickey Rebrushed information and also the deep secret that I've been really scared to talk about, honestly, to you all specifically. When I unload this, it'll literally feel like the biggest weight off of my shoulders that I'm literally going to be floating into space. You may notice, by the way, that I am not in my cartoony cabin. That is 100% real. I am actually en route to Too Many Games with a quick pit stop at my aunt's in New York, and well, I mean, she has a lot more sensible, like, house decor aesthetic skills than I ever will, so don't worry, we'll be back to my cartoony cabin one way or another. I know that this got reviewed at like last week at the point that this video is going to come out, but yeah, Too Many Games, coming to my aunt's for a little bit, and of course the fact that Taylor debuted Tavis on the Eras Tour stage. I mean, all this stuff just kind of had to come first. But yes, now we can finally talk about the fact that THQ Nordic decided to have another baby and give us a whole slew of information about Epic Mickey Rebrushed. Not as insane as that initial rehydrated like unloading information debacle that I still remember from years ago. Like, that was insane. I was literally up to like 3 a.m. making a video on it. So this is a lot more tame in comparison, but still a lot of really interesting information came out from it. So before I talk about like that secret that I really do need to tell you all, let's go over the information that THQ Nordic unveiled. So this trailer came out, and one of the first things I noticed about it is the fact that Warren Spector has a huge presence in this trailer. And I gotta say, that's just such a really cool thing about this remake, is the fact that they have the original director like so heavily involved and really giving his stamp of approval, so you can almost guarantee that this is like going to be an extremely faithful remake, which we already knew it was going to be, because I feel like Purple Lamp did a really good job with Rehydrated. You know, aside from like maybe some discourse about like its visual changes, Epic Mickey really does seem to be taking a lot from like the original and really incorporating all that into the remake. I actually would be so curious if they changed anything, because that was Warren Spector's original vision of the game, but it wasn't executed in the original for one reason or another. So if there's any significant changes in this remake and that can be attributed to Warren Spector actually wanting it to be that way, I think that would be such an interesting comparison to look into. Part of me wishes that Rehydrated had Heavy Iron involved in some way, but it's nice to see THQ Nordic like going into each remake with a little bit more knowledge than they had before and doing things slightly more right. Secondly, the game looks absolutely gorgeous as usual. In fact, the Mad Doctor in particular has a lot of presence in this trailer, and he doesn't look ugly, even though it's like the same design. I don't know, it has that like Disney feel to it that's like, I know he's ugly, I know he's bad, but nonetheless, he looks very delicious either way. Oswald also was showcased a little bit in the trailer, and he has this expressiveness that does actually remind me of like a Pixar movie. So the visuals are just, well, I don't have any complaints. It looks great. And third, the collector's edition was particularly highlighted in this trailer, and I gotta say, a lot of really cool stuff here. A lot of the same stuff you come to expect that you saw in like the Rehydrate and Cosmic Shake collector's editions, for instance. That figurine would look really great at my fireplace, THQ Nordic, if you were curious. But otherwise, I think it's selling for like $200 retail price. And another thing that I need a little more time to kind of digest, but they're retailing this game for $60, which is very interesting to me. That's like double Rehydrated. So I don't know, I hope the game's worth it. You know, maybe there's something we don't know. And the game is coming out on September 24th of this year, so we are literally like weeks away from it at this point, like maybe like 12 weeks or so. So that still sounds like a lot, but those months are going to fly by just like that, and wow, it's crazy that it's gonna come so soon. We do know for sure that Epic Mickey Rebrushed is going to be appearing at Gamescom at the end of August, but hopefully we get some more crumbs or morsels of like information from now until then, because 2 months is still kind of like a long time to not hear anything. So hopefully maybe there's some previews and some interviews and stuff that will release in the interim. But with the release of the game coming before we know it, I think it is time to address something that I have been really debating on how I was going to address for a long time. If you have watched like my Epic Mickey videos and also my streams, you know that I've mentioned multiple times that I would go and play the original and then I would eventually make a video about my thoughts on it. And I have to confess today that I still haven't finished it. In fact, I haven't touched the game in like weeks at this point. And the reason that I haven't finished it is a reason that I think I always knew, but I simply didn't want to admit to. I just don't want to. Now, before y'all jump down my throat saying that I have no taste and I have no right to be covering this game, hear me out on this, because I have a way to kind of reconcile like all the emotions I have about this game. Especially given the fact that I have a very irrational love for SpongeBob games, so this feels a little bit weird that I am maybe not as into this game. Epic Mickey was a game that I'd known for a long time, but I never touched until this year. The game came out in 2010 when I was in high school, and admittedly during that time I was trying to evolve my taste as a video gamer like drastically. The games I was playing around then were like Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect, the Batman Arkham games, first-person shooters. Oof, the thought just like sends shivers down my spine. I mean, talk about the most worthless genre in the world. I was basically doing my best to mature and evolve my video game taste beyond like licensed video games and Sonic the Hedgehog. Although SpongeBob's Truth or Square still managed to slip into my high school life, so it wasn't foolproof, I guess. Thus, Epic Mickey simply remained like a whisper I would hear on the interweb occasionally, admittedly more than like most Disney video game franchises. When I think of Disney video games, I think of like Kingdom Hearts, the collective grouping of Pixar licensed video games, and then Epic Mickey. It was always up there for me. So to fast forward to 2024 and see this game get the remake treatment in the same way that Rehydrated was done, my curiosity was certainly piqued. I was like, did I really miss something here? Learning about the premise and the concept of Epic Mickey was already one thing outside of playing the game. I mean, the game sounded so atypical from a typical Disney game. It looked so much darker aesthetically, and given like how uptight Disney can be with franchises, it was a very intriguing game to me always, and something that like, you know, one day I think I would try out. Now fast forward today, with the remake being handled by the same staff that, you know, brought back one of my biggest childhood games of all time, my interest was, you know, by default peaked. But with Rehydrated, I was coming from a place of loving the original so much that that alone was basically fueling my hype for the remake, especially given the fact that it was going to introduce a whole new audience to the game and make so many more people fans of this amazing classic title that I grew up with. Now with Rebrushed, it's the exact opposite situation because I did not grow up with this game, and so I was going to be on the other side of the spectrum, that this was a game that was going to be able to help me understand what was so great and lovable about the original game. And yeah, that's basically where I was at. I'd almost finished the game off stream. In fact, I think I'm at like the last chapter at this point. And I also played a fair bit of it on stream. And I think I gave pretty positive feedback for the most part. But you know the difference between a game you like and then a game that you are so obsessed with that you cannot put it down until that bitch is finished and resting? Epic Mickey was unfortunately more the former for me. And to be honest, I wasn't really to communicate why that was for me. In fact, I think I felt deep inside I have to give this game the exact same treatment that I gave Rehydrated. With that game, I was literally so excited about the remake that I don't think I was able to properly criticize that game for a long time, even after it came out. Like, the hype was just immense for me. The game's road to release was also like one of like my favorite years of like running this YouTube channel, and so there's a lot of like positive memories that just coincide with the release of that game, and I was bringing a lot of that stuff into Rebrushed. But Rebrushed is a game I literally cannot give the same treatment because it's literally the exact opposite situation. I did not play this as a kid, and so I don't have the nostalgia going into the remake. I'm coming into this with a blank state. But enough time has passed, and I think I am finally ready to articulate what it is I like about this game and what it is I don't like about this game. Epic Mickey actually rings as the sort of game I definitely think I would have loved as a kid. I mean, I still think Ratatouille on the Wii is one of the greatest games of all time, so my taste as a kid definitely would have fallen in line with this. A 3D platformer starring a licensed icon, and mechanics are slightly more interesting than a typical licensed platformer, like the use of paint and thinner to help affect like the ending of the game. Like, this was a game that was really made for my teenage or childhood self. I would have loved this game back in 2010 when I was like 15 or 16, but now I'm almost 30 years old and I've played so many more games, and unfortunately my expectations, my tastes have changed. Let's start the positives, because I do want to make it clear that Epic Mickey is not a bad game. Like, I think it's a very solid game, and there's a lot of reasons that I'm still super excited for this remake. Epic Mickey is absolutely amazing at its world building. I mean, I think the whole concept of venturing into this wasteland of forgotten Disney characters is such a great meta concept, and actually creates opportunity for some really interesting commentary on how like the rise of certain like properties or brands can result in the irrelevance of other properties within the same company. It's something that I don't feel like we really talk about that much. I also mentioned that the paint and thinner system is super unique to this game. It was a lot of fun to play with. And the environments also had this consistently dark feel to them that I really enjoyed, and it really just like tied the entire game together. I also thought the storyline was very well done in this game up to the point I've played so far. I think the relationship between Oswald and Mickey in particular is super interesting. Like that's a very contentious relationship that you see evolve throughout the game and such. And again, I think that commentary on like how, you know, certain properties like getting really popular will result in the irrelevance of older ones is an interesting thing to talk about. I think the point is what I love most about Epic Mickey is just that it seems to know exactly what it wants to be and does everything right in terms of like the visual and storytelling perspective in executing that. And I think that's just such a valuable like strength for like any game to like have that clear identity, to know exactly what direction you want to go in. Sonic can't relate. Sonic can't relate. And Epic Mickey really strikes me as that sort of game. I probably will eventually finish the game, by the way. Like I'm super close, you know, I'll have all my chakras and all that stuff in place, and I'll self-encourage myself, and then yeah, the game will get finished before the release, don't you worry. But the main reason that I don't think I can really bring myself to finish the game at the moment is the controls. I mean, it is going to come down to the gameplay at this point. There's a couple of reasons why the controls are a really contentious factor for me when it comes to Epic Mickey. One, motion controls. I don't think motion controls in general have aged that well in the gaming industry, so I feel like any like Wii game that I didn't get to when I was a kid that I would play right now, I would probably come up with the same issues. Like it's just a control scheme that I loved when I was a kid, but now I don't want it. I don't want it. They're like, get away from me. I can at least understand why the pointing mechanic makes a lot of sense, because paint and thinning is a really big mechanic in this game, and you know, pointing to the direction of where you want that paint or thinner to go is super crucial. But I just think that you do it so many times that like my hands get sore. You also have to shake the remote consistently to attack enemies, and this makes combat like one of my least favorite parts of the game, because you know, I'm literally just like wagging it over and over again for Mickey to like do that stupid spin attack over and over again. I cannot wait for that to be just a simple button press in the remake. We have to protect the real estate here. The game also has a pretty deplorable camera, which is a very common issue with platformers around this time, and it's also something that I think every Epic Mickey fan actually agrees with from what I've seen. There's also an unfortunate amount of backtracking when it comes to like going back to Main Street, for instance, and other places. That's something that I think would be a really easy fix in a remake, you know, making you not have to replay the projector levels over and over again, and I think you're starting to see why I'm still really excited for this remake. I was actually, in all honesty, sort of prepared to fake my way until the game's release. I mean, I went to the Regina George School of Fakeness. Like, I could keep a smile on my face all day.
Oh my God, I love your skirt. Where did you get it?
It was my mom's in the 80s.
Vintage. So adorable.
Thanks.
That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen.
However, I am now at that age where like I simply don't want to do that. Like my capacity of faking things is literally a simple pixel. Like it's bad. You would get suffocated in that space. So now I'm here and telling you my honest thoughts about the original game. What really fascinates me about my opinion about the original Epic Mickey though is how like my critiques for this game are actually very much in line with like one of my biggest childhood games that I love to death, but I think has a lot of the same issues. I just finished making a video on the most important game of my childhood, Sonic Heroes, and I literally complained about the exact same things in this game. The controls are slippery, the camera is also shit, and there's a lot of backtracking in the sense of having to replay levels over and over again of all the different teams. Despite all that though, it is still one of my favorite games of all time because I grew up with it, so I grew up loving it, all faults and all. So now we come back to Epic Mickey, and again, knowing how I feel about Sonic Heroes and how nostalgia really fuels my love for that game, I am very certain that if I grew up with this game, I would have grown to love it too, and I would be so much more excited for this remake. But now that I'm almost 30 and I played so many games and I have like all these different expectations and experiences of playing games, unfortunately some of Epic Mickey's like shortcomings are kind of bothersome to me, and it does sort of like ruin the experience of the original game. But again, this is why this remake is such an awesome opportunity, because this is all stuff that is easily fixable in the remake. Purple Lamp, just like Rehydrated, has the opportunity to iron out so many of the issues of the original game and make this a brand new optimized experience for new players wanting to try it out. But now instead of me being on the side of the person that wants people to discover this game because I grew up to love it as a kid, now I'm on the other side of like, I'm a brand new person coming into this game and I want to love this game, and hopefully this remake presents it in a way that's, you know, up to the standards of modern gaming. And Purple Lamp has already addressed the fact that they're fixing the camera, I believe, or maybe it was THQ Nordic, and so we're already off to an amazing start. Now with Epic Mickey Rebrushed coming out in a matter of months, I hope that Purple Lamp really does rise to the challenge and does just as good of a job as they did with like Rehydrated and Cosmic Shake in particular, and really do make this like the optimal way of playing Epic Mickey, and who knows what will happen with Epic Mickey in the future. And I also hope that Purple Lamp continues being like the go-to developer for reviving like licensed games like this. Like, can we get Purple Lamp on Simpsons Hit and Run? I've been saying this for years and years. Let's go. But let me know what your experience with Epic Mickey was. Like, did you play it when you were a kid? Did you not? Let me know. And let me know your thoughts on like the remake and such and the announcement. And yeah, I guess we will just wait and see. But if you have too many games, then I hope I saw you. But otherwise, I'll see you all very, very soon. This is Riders, riding out.